Okay, so are you ready to get a little strange? Today we're going deep into the world of rare psychological disorders.
Ooh, yeah, the ones that make you question, like, what even is the human mind?
Exactly. We're talking about people who want to amputate perfectly healthy limbs or think their family has been replaced by imposters.
It's gonna get weird, but also fascinating.
Absolutely. Even for me, and I love all things unusual, this is uncharted
About
territory.
to love it.
So, ready to explore the what and the why behind these rare disorders.
Hit me with it.
All right, let's start with Munchausen syndrome.
Okay, so Munchausen syndrome. This is where people fake illnesses.
Yeah, and not just like a little cough.
Right. They go to extreme lengths to create symptoms.
I was reading about some cases, some people even develop extensive medical knowledge, almost like they're method actors preparing for a role.
It's wild, right?
So what's the motivation? Why would someone do that?
It boils down to attention and sympathy. They crave that care and validation that comes with being sick. Psychologists call it the sick role.
The sick role
Yeah, that social recognition of needing help and support.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sources I was looking at had this example, this father who kept telling his family these crazy stories about almost fainting and needing to like crawl home.
Oh, wow.
Almost funny,
Yeah,
but also really bizarre.
totally. And then things get even darker.
Yeah.
With Munchausen syndrome by proxy,
Oh, yeah.
where someone, usually a mother,
Right. Usually a mother
yeah,
creates or exaggerates an illness in another person.
usually their child.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking to think about because it's the child who ends up suffering, and it's so hard to diagnose.
It is, because doctors often rely on the parent's account of what's happening.
Right, and they're the one fabricating it. One of the sources mentioned that case in the UK, the nurse nicknamed the Death Angel.
Oh, gosh, yes. She harmed children in her care for attention.
It's terrifying, and it raises so many ethical questions about how to handle these cases.
For sure. Munchausen by proxy is a tough one.
Okay, so moving on from faking illness to something even more perplexing, body integrity identity disorder, or
BIID? This is where people feel this overwhelming desire to amputate a healthy limb or even acquire a disability.
it's like their physical body doesn't match their internal sense of self.
Right. It's like a mismatch between their mind and body.
And here's something even stranger. The desire often focuses on the left side of the body.
Really?
Yeah. Some researchers think it might be connected to how our brains are organized, with the right hemisphere playing a role in body image.
Huh. That's so interesting. Some sources were saying that people with BIID who have medical training have actually tried to amputate their own limb.
Yeah, I read about that too.
I mean, that just blows my mind. What does that tell us about this disconnect between mind and body?
It really shows how deep this feeling of incongruence runs. These individuals truly believe that amputation or disability will bring them closer to who they feel they are meant to be.
It's a complex and often misunderstood condition.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we have a disorder with a rather eerie name, Cotard delusion, also known as walking corpse syndrome.
Ooh, that one's creepy.
Imagine feeling like you're dead or non-existent
I can't even fathom that.
or even immortal people with Cotard delusion. They often neglect themselves.
Because why bother taking care of a body that's not really there, right?
Exactly. I read this really sad case about a teenage girl. After her parents got divorced, she started spending all her time in cemeteries.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she felt like she belonged there, like she was already dead.
It sounds like she was going through so much emotional pain.
Definitely. And her mind found this way to cope.
Right. To escape from reality.
This might sound weird, but do you think Cotard delusion is like a form of extreme depression?
You know, there's definitely a strong link to severe depression. Some cases have even responded to antidepressants.
Really?
Yeah, suggesting there could be a disruption in brain chemistry involved.
Interesting. But then there are cases like that woman who found solace in Disney movies.
Oh, yeah, I read about her.
Like, how can something as simple as watching a movie help someone who believes they're dead?
It makes you wonder about the power of positive emotions.
For sure. Okay, so speaking of misperceptions, our final disorder for this part of our deep dive is Capgras delusion.
All right, Capgras delusion.
It's like that movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, yeah.
It's the unshakable belief that your loved ones have been replaced by identical imposters.
Oh.
Imagine looking at your own family and feeling like you're talking to complete strangers, wearing masks that look like your loved ones.
That would be terrifying.
Totally. It's almost like that feeling of deja vu. But instead of just a fleeting sensation, It's a persistent and horrifying reality.
It's like your brain is playing tricks on you.
Right, and it can even extend to a person's own reflection. I read about this woman who thought a mistress was impersonating her in the mirror.
Oh, wow.
That's so strange. So how does this even happen? How does someone develop Capgras delusion?
Well, think about how our brains recognize faces. There's the visual part, where we see the features and identify who it is.
Right.
And then there's the emotional part, that feeling of familiarity, love, or even fear when we see someone we know.
I'm following you.
Capgras delusion seems to be a disconnect between those two things. The part that recognizes faces is working fine, but the part that triggers that emotional connection is somehow offline.
Wow. It's like a glitch in the wiring of the brain.
Exactly.
That's incredible. It makes you realize just how fragile our sense of reality really is. Just a small disconnect. And our entire perception of the world can shift.
It really does make you think about how much of what we experience is actually a construct of our minds.
And how much we still don't know about how our brains work.
Absolutely.
So with Capgras delusion, you're saying the person can recognize a face, but they don't feel that emotional connection. It's like seeing but not feeling.
Yeah, it's like the emotional part of facial recognition is missing.
That's so unsettling.
Definitely.
And what's even more fascinating is that there are cases where Capgras delusion is treated with these unusual methods. Like one source mentioned a woman who was gradually cured by increasing the size of mirrors she looked into.
Oh yeah, that's a really interesting one.
It's like her brain had to slowly relearn the connection between recognizing her own face and the emotional response.
Right. It's like retraining the brain to connect those pathways.
It's amazing that it worked.
It is.
It shows you the power of therapeutic interventions, even in these extreme cases.
Absolutely. And it speaks to the brain's incredible plasticity, its ability to adapt and rewire itself.
Okay, so we've gone pretty deep into some strange stuff here. I think I need a breather. I'm starting to get a little paranoid about everyone around me.
I get it. It can be a bit unsettling.
Like, what if my mailman is an imposter?
Well, he could be. You're not helping.
I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's important to remember that these disorders are incredibly rare.
Okay. Good.
You're far more likely to win the lottery than to encounter someone with one of these conditions.
That makes me feel a little better.
Good, but
All joking aside, these cases really raise some profound questions about what it means to be human
definitely.
and how much of our reality is just a construct of our minds.
You're absolutely right. It's like that quote, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's so true,
It highlights how our perceptions are shaped by our experiences and beliefs.
which is both amazing and a little bit scary.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like we have all this power to shape our reality.
But we also have to be aware of the potential for distortions.
Right.
Our brains can be both our greatest asset and our biggest challenge.
So if our brains are so powerful, do you think we can consciously control our perceptions? Maybe even cure ourselves of these kinds of disorders?
That's a great question, and one that has fascinated thinkers for centuries.
I bet.
There's definitely growing evidence that our thoughts and beliefs can have a profound impact on our well-being.
Like the power of positive thinking.
Exactly.
Or meditation.
Right. Studies have shown that mindfulness and meditation can actually alter brain activity and reduce stress.
So there's hope for people struggling with these conditions.
There's always hope. The more we learn about the brain, the more likely we are to find new and innovative ways to treat these disorders.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be studying the brain.
It really is. It's incredible to think that for all its quirks and glitches, the human brain is still the most complex and fascinating structure in the known universe.
Absolutely. And we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of its potential.
I feel like after this deep dive, I'm coming away with a greater appreciation for the wonders and complexities of the brain.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's a journey that's both humbling and awe-inspiring.
It is. These rare disorders show us that the human mind is capable of amazing things, but it's also vulnerable in ways we're only beginning to understand.
It makes you wonder, what other mysteries are hidden within the depths of our minds?
That's the beauty of neuroscience. It's a field of endless exploration and discovery.
Well, after exploring these unusual disorders, I'm definitely going to be paying closer attention to my own thinking and all the weird quirks and glitches that make me who I am. Yeah, it really makes you think about what normal even means.
Right.
I mean, these disorders are rare,
Right.
but still, what is normal anyway?
That's a tough one. I mean,
Yeah,
what we consider normal, it's often based on our culture and society.
true. It's all relative.
Totally. And these disorders, they kind of challenge those
Yeah, to make
definitions.
you see things from a different perspective.
Exactly. They remind us that human experience is so diverse, there's so many different ways that our minds can perceive and interact with the world.
For our listener, who's been with us on this journey, through all these strange and fascinating disorders, what's the big takeaway here?
I think the most important takeaway is a sense of wonder and curiosity about the human mind.
I like that.
These disorders, they can be perplexing and sometimes even unsettling,
For sure.
but they offer us a glimpse into the amazing adaptability and also the fragility of our brains.
It's a strange paradox.
It is.
Like our brains are so powerful, but also so vulnerable.
Exactly. And these disorders remind us that what we perceive as reality isn't always an accurate reflection of what's actually going on.
It's like our brains can trick us.
In a way, yes. The boundaries of human consciousness, they're much more fluid than we often realize.
I love that. It's a reminder
Yeah.
that there's still so much we don't know about ourselves.
Absolutely. The human mind is a vast and uncharted territory.
And exploring it is an ongoing adventure.
It really is.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this fascinating deep dive into the world of rare psychological disorders. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that amazing brain of yours humming along.